Republican strategist Evan Siegfried joins us more now to discuss this a little bit more. Evan, good to have you with us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Another day and a lot to unpack here. So first of all, Evan, let's get your reaction to that Supreme Court ruling. In general, was this any kind of a surprise?
It was not a surprise whatsoever. Pretty much every legal scholar from the right to the left said that the Colorado Supreme Court went out over their skis. Let's remember, the Colorado Supreme Court, of the 7 members, all of them are Democrats. 3 of them voted not to remove Trump from the ballot. They said that it was not within their power. And the United States Supreme Court, all 9 of them, which it's very tough to get a unanimous ruling in this political climate, particularly with the Supreme Court these days, all 9 of them said it's up to Congress to choose whether or not Trump made himself ineligible. You can't have one state throwing a monkey wrench into the entire national elections.
And Donald Trump called this a win today and said it was something that, in his view, was going to unify. Do you suppose he meant unify the party, coalescing around one candidate?
I think he wishes it would be unifying the party and the country behind him. But I think that the cake is already baked in terms of who supports Donald Trump and who doesn't. There are a lot of people who don't support Donald Trump, but who agreed with this ruling as well. I'm one of them. But I think at the end of the day, it really is a win for Trump, particularly with his base, because his base has always felt that the elites and the deep state have been against him, and that the Colorado ruling was one more way of this happening and being against him and therefore being against them. And now this is them seeing, oh, look, the Supreme Court has fought back to protect us.
So it's one win on this path, Evan, but, Donald Trump himself has, characterized all of these legal challenges he's facing as a coordinated plan against him. So what could the next bump on the road here be?
Well, the next bump on the road is going to be at the end of the month when he has the Manhattan DA's hush money case. That is the least problematic for him in terms of his criminal trials. This isn't really something that's going to see him get jail time if he's convicted. But what is going to be a big problem for him is how quickly the Supreme Court takes up his case on the presidential immunity claim. Had he not had had this case not been stayed, this week would be when he would be starting to go to trial for that case. Now we're looking at a Supreme Court oral argument about presidential immunity on April 22nd, a likely ruling by the end of June, and then the case will begin again, where it will probably start in September, and that will be right at the election. But you can expect Trump to appeal that because the Department of Justice has a policy of do not investigate presidential candidates and federal electoral candidates 60 days prior to a general election. But there's nothing there about whether or not they can continue with prosecution after an indictment that has been filed well outside of that 60-day window is there.
That's a lot of question marks. And let's bring it back to the immediate road ahead for now, Evan, which is the Super Tuesday contests tomorrow, the road to 1,215 delegates. Has Donald Trump pretty much sewn this up?
This was sewn up even before the Iowa caucuses, let's be honest. Donald Trump, the second he was indicted by Jack Smith on both the January 6th investigation as well as the classified documents investigation, immediately got the Republican Party base back to him when they were flirting with the Ron DeSantis's of the world. Again, the base sees Donald Trump as an avatar of them. Whenever he's attacked, it's because the government is also going after them. He is suffering for their sins is sort of the way they view him. And I think that what we have seen is that Donald Trump cannot be stopped in the Republican Party. Yes, Nikki Haley is touting her win over the weekend in the Washington, D.C. primary. But what she's not saying is that only 3,000 people voted, and she won 66% of that vote. So I don't think that Nikki Haley really has anywhere to go. The only thing Nikki Haley is trying to do, in my opinion, is to get some delegates in the event that Donald Trump is convicted before the election. And so she can say, look, the voters gave me delegates. All the other people who dropped out didn't really get any. But when the Supreme Court last week agreed to hear the presidential immunity case, her complete snowball's chance of a campaign lost even more odds. And I just think it's time for her to get out.
So the math isn't with her, but Evan, you think that might have been the long game here, to try to be that person waiting in the wings?
To be that person waiting in the wings, yes. Much more so because she was hoping that she would be convicted on the January 6th case before the Republican National Convention this summer. And if that had happened, that would throw a complete monkey wrench into the system of the Republican primary, because you have seen poll after poll say, while there are voters who support Donald Trump over Joe Biden, particularly in swing states, were he to be convicted of a federal crime, there you would see 20 to 30% leave.
All right. Evan Siegfried, we're going to leave it at that. Republican strategist. Pleasure to chat with you, Evan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.